Well, hello there, great to see you, and I do hope that you're well. Welcome back to Weir Yard here with me, Jenny Kirk. And today we're going to be taking a look at the newest release from Rapido Trains, which is the GWR B-Set coaches. These were a semi-permanently coupled together pair of coaches that the GWR used on a number of more rural services. They were incredibly successful, running with things like 262 Prairie tanks, and they're definitely something that any GWR modeller, or indeed Western Region modeller, needs for their model railway. They're going to be offered in a number of different liveries, suiting everything from when they were first introduced in 1924 right through to the dying days of BR steam. And I'd like to thank Rapido Trains for very kindly sending over a set for review. And it's an interesting livery example that they've chosen to send. The GWR Wartime Brown is something that I've not particularly seen before. It doesn't seem to be something that is modelled particularly often, but nonetheless is a pivotal part of the GWR story. And it's definitely something to look a little bit different on your layout. Of course, there will always be a little bit of crossover between different livery options, as not all coaches were painted at exactly the same time, so it's a great opportunity to add a little bit of variety to your layout by mixing and matching some of the livery options available. I'm really interested to see these because apart from the dynamometer car and the Great Eastern Railway Bogie, Wisbech and Upwell tramway coach, I haven't really seen any what we might term main range coaches from Rapido, and with their huge fanfare of the Evolution range of slightly more generic pre-grouping stock, I'm quite keen to see just what we can expect from more bread and butter coaches when we step away from those niche museum quality one-off examples, and this is the perfect opportunity to do just that. As we go through this review, don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying this video, and consider sharing to social media if you want to share some of the information with your fellow modelers. And if you haven't already done so, then do please click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for the best possible chance of YouTube actually doing what you told it to do and letting you know about new videos as and when they go up. You can also find the model featured today and all the other different livery examples available at the affiliate link in the description box that takes you to TMC the Model Centre, where we believe that you'll get the best possible price on these coaches to buy them to add to your fleet. And also don't forget to check out the range of seated passengers that they do specifically to go with these coaches. But are they any good? Has Rapido managed to deliver another model living up to the standards and the incredibly high bar that they keep setting for themselves? Or perhaps is this the one where standards start to slip? Well, come with me and let's take a good close look and see whether Rapido have managed to pull off another amazing item of rolling stock. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. Additional support comes from...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model OO gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest logo.
There's been a lot of emphasis from Rapido over the last year or so on locomotives and freight rolling stock, but that doesn't mean that they've been neglecting passenger rolling stock. And this latest release, the B-Set coaches, is something that I've actually been looking forward to because I've only up till now seen some of the much more special niche coaches that Rapido have done, like the dynamometer car and the Great Eastern Railway Wisbech and Upwell coach, which are nice niche models that can be hyper detailed, which they did, and they were very impressive indeed. But this is much more of the mundane workaday rolling stock, and it's interesting to see just what they've done with these. Now, Rapido have very kindly sent over a set of the B-set coaches, so we can do just that. Now, I've got a catalogue number on the end here of 946009, and this is the Diagram E140 B-set GWR wartime brown livery, and that's Second World War. This is coaches number 6409 and 6410. Now, the B-set coaches are something that's actually quite distinctively Great Western. These ran in fixed formations, so two coaches with break ends each end, and then a mix of mostly third class compartments but also a first class in between. And these actually were the workhorses of the Great Western Railway over the west of England, working on a great many different routes, normally behind something like a 262 Prairie tank locomotive, and having a guards compartment at either end just made sure that it was quick and easy to turn around at each end of the routes. Now, we've got the owner's manual, and this gives some prototype history on these. These were the classic Great Western Railway branch trains with a pair of non-corridor brake composites coupled together, being hauled by a small prairie known as B-sets. The first iteration of the B-set coaches was delivered in 1924 under diagram E116. However, it wasn't until 1930 that the most numerous diagram E140, which is what Rapido have offered in this model, were delivered. These coaches were longer and wider than previous designs, and this necessitated recessed door handles and guards doors. They ran on 7-foot wheelbase bogies, whilst later versions, the diagram E145, used a larger 9-foot bogies. There were 41 pairs, so that's 82 coaches of the diagram 140 built. We've also got in here some information on some of the detail packs, and what I like about this is that they don't leave you on your own. They actually show you where that extra detail goes. I also like the fact we've got spare drop light windows, and somebody at Rapido must have thought, well, you know, we've got this hyper detailed interior, people are going to put people in there, why not have people who can actually be looking out the window, or just have drop lights lowered for a bit of air, just like on the prototype. And they've actually supplied a full set of lowered drop lights. You can mix and match with these, and it really is quite a nice touch. We've also got some extra parts here for brake rigging, and also that semi-permanent coupling bar to go between the two coaches, which, as these ran as a fixed set, is actually a pretty good addition, and it's certainly something which I'll be looking to make use of. We've got some information as well about fitting passengers. It's really quite nice that we've got the lighting bar in the roof of the coaches. We've got a capacitor, so it's flicker free, and it uses springs as the electrical contact, which is quite interesting. But the fact that the light bar comes out with the roof does mean we've got a really quite easy way of getting passengers into these coaches, and that is something that in particular companies like Model U do a whole lot of aftermarket figures, sitting figures, which can be picked period appropriate for your coaches. These open windows really are quite interesting. They're done to the same pattern as those that are pre-fitted to the coach. So all the ones that are in the coach in the box are in the up position, and then you get a full set of down position windows to fit yourself. Don't use super glue because it will give a kind of a white bloom on stuff. PVA is actually perfect. It also has the added advantage that you can wipe it off if you get a little bit too much on. But you can also remove these and put back the original windows if you so choose. Now, the lighting on these models is actually done using a magnetic wand to turn it on and off. And I like this. It does mean that we don't need to spend a lot of money on DCC decoders for those people going DCC, and it also means that both DC and DCC users can benefit from lights which you can turn on or off. Although one thing I would say is we've seen a lot of these from manufacturers of late. It is a great idea, it is a great design, but I've ended up with probably up to about a dozen of these magnetic wands, and you really only need one for your entire fleet. I don't really know what the answer to that is, but I have to say that my heart drops when I see another plastic magnetic wand with latest release. The coaches themselves, well, we've got this wartime brown livery, Second World War. This isn't a livery that I've particularly seen done before. I think GWR people tend to associate with the brown and cream particularly, but then earlier crimson too. So this brown, and it's quite a light brown, is something which I've not really seen offered before, but of course the Second World War period, quite a long period of time right there at the end of the GWR's existence, so you could imagine that this at the time would have actually been quite a common livery. Both of these are exactly the same, so in terms of tooling, what we've got are two composite brake ends, and these are non-corridor. So I'm going to put that one to one side, and very, very quickly, let's just take a look at the detail on offer on this particular coach. So looking down the side, we've got those recessed door handles, and it's an interesting point to note that the GWR was building these to the limit of the loading gauge when originally a lot of the GWR was built for broad gauge. It just shows how roomy these would have been. So the guard's door there, you can see, is fully recessed, and it does give quite a distinctive look to these coaches, which Rapido has captured well. And along the side here, we've got the handles and grab handles as well. These are all recessed so that they don't impinge on the actual envelope of the railway. And again, that's really captured quite well. They look to be, as far as I can tell, separately fitted parts, each of these. Really quite nicely fitted in there. And particularly the door handles, really quite nicely replicated there. It is a great look and a great finish. Looking at across the windows, we've got quite a few printed details on the windows. So no smoking, we've got the first class there. So all of these actually say smoking. We've got one non-smoking. I don't know if you were a non-smoker in first class, you're a bit screwed, really. Let's just very quickly. Oh no, I am completely wrong. So just wind back a bit on what I just said. So in the other coach, it's a non-smoking compartment for first, and we've also got the smoking first compartment. So there is a detail difference between these two coaches. Moving further on, we've got the GWR crest here, and this is really quite sharply printed, and I've got every faith the closer we look in on this, the more detail there is there to have. I mean, a wartime livery is quite austere, but there's still a lot going on. The lettering of the GWR, the first, and the guard, and the luggage, and the coach number itself really is nicely done. We've got the drop shadowing in there as well. And the actual finish on the brown is kind of a satin finish. So it's not gloss, it's not matte, but it does work really quite well. And it is a colour that I've just, as I said before, not really seen offered on ready-to-run rolling stock before. Certainly this is probably one of the more common periods, certainly towards the end of the GWR. Now, the ends of the coaches, we've got this kind of curved effect. This is presumably part of the means whereby these were quite close coupling. They kind of bow out in the middle to just kind of make the most of the space available as these went round corners. It is quite Spartan, and we've got a little bit of detail on there. And then we've got these buffers. They do appear to be sprung, but there's not much travel on those buffers. They are metal heads, quite large round heads, but really quite limited spring on those. I guess that is entirely as per prototype. Looking to the outer end of the coach, so this would have been either what was up against the locomotive or just quite simply the end of the train. There's a little bit more detail going on. We've got the same curve of the end of the coach, but there's more pipe work and a few extra detail pieces added. We've got the lamp brackets, and then we've got extra handholds next to them. I guess that would have been for members of the train crew to be able to gain a purchase when they were changing things like lamps on the ends. Again, we've got sprung buffers. These seem to have a bit more travel, the ends of the coach. It is interesting, so let's just look at that. There's quite a bit of spring on those. We've got quite a large base in there of that the buffer goes into that would contain the spring. And on the other end, it's almost like they're retracted all the way into the coach. And I think that this is in part of the close coupling mechanism, and it's interesting to see that actually modelled in this way. Looking along the roof of the coach, again, we've got this satin finish. My personal thoughts on this colour is perhaps a little bit too shiny. It's something that maybe a slight dusting of weathering powders, just to tone that down, would not go amiss. I think it's just too shiny a finish from the factory, but it's a small gripe and definitely something that will not really cause any great issues for the modeller to tone that down. We've got these separately fitted torpedo vents. There's a lot of detail on these. These are actually made up from quite complex hoops of metal that were all fitted together to make up this shape, and that is captured really quite well. We've got these ribs too across the width of the coach, and it's quite a subtle rib, but pretty well done nonetheless. Once you get away from the compartments into the guards area, we've got this staggered offset pattern. The glazing, well, we have talked about this. We've got the separately fitted alternative glazing, but we've also got these bars on the luggage racks. And one of the things I do want to check, do we have, yes we do. So on these we do have the smoking and the no smoking lozenges actually replicated. So I did wonder about that. I'm just looking to see, can I see the first class? A little bit difficult. I can't see a first class in there, but that doesn't mean that there isn't one. But yeah, that is a nice touch that has all been pre-printed. So even if you're swapping out windows for a drop light in the down position, you don't have to worry about these lozenges not quite lining up. But just do pay attention to which is the first class compartment and which are the no smoking and smoking. The underframe detail on these coaches really is well done. Now they've got particularly, it's a very particular Great Western Railway thing. They seem to like short wheelbase bogies on coaching stock that are right up at the ends of the coaches. It's a very distinctive style, and one which means you can tell a GWR coach from a mile away. So we've got this 7-foot wheelbase bogie, really quite well done. There's a lot of detail in there, and even though it's all just in the one colour, this kind of satin black, there is a huge amount of detail, and I think some dusting of weathering powders, kind of brake dust, is really going to bring alive some of that detail. Against the light you can see all that riveting and those springs too, really quite nicely done. And actually it's interesting, the springs look to be loaded. They're not in the unloaded position. You could just see they actually have slightly flattened look of a spring that's carrying weight, which is exactly what you would expect. Looking to the underside, the bogie itself is fastened to the body with a single screw. That's the pivot point. We've got all the brake rigging here, all fitted as standard. And you can also see that the brake blocks, these are clasp type brakes, and the stretcher bars, they're all factory fitted and they do line up with the wheel treads. The wheels themselves do look a bit brass coloured. Again, I think a little bit of a dusting with weathering powders wouldn't go amiss. They're kind of a split axle because they're picking up the power for the internal lighting, and this is done, there's actually a bar on each side which also doubles as the bearing for the wheels, so they're actually really quite free running. And then we've got body-mounted self-centering mechanisms here that you can see. Really quite a nice positive self-centering mechanism. And actually, if I look to the end where they supply that bar for connecting the two coaches together quite close, that is actually quite nicely done. Again, we've got the self-centering mechanism, but it's well hidden back between the wheels. And in terms of the mounting of that, I do quite like that. You can just there against the light, you can see it's really nicely fitted in there. Under frame detail, you can see the stretcher bars of the chassis. These are actually, they feel to be in quite a springy plastic, so they do withstand quite a few knocks and bumps. We've got the footboards for the guard step, and then we've got the additional, I'm guessing these might be battery boxes. And again, really nicely done. There's a little bit of extra printing on here. You can just see it behind some of the chassis detail, but most of this is in this kind of satin black finish. The detail does extend even behind the battery boxes. We've got the representation of the dynamo, and there's a lot of spring to some of this, so it will stand up to knocks and such like. One of the screws there, though, we've got a little bit of corrosion, it looks like, already around one of these screws. It's probably just one of those things from the factory. One of the screws in the box had just a little bit of something going on, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Now, to get inside this coach, it talks about clips down each side. I've seen methods that utilise magnets. I do prefer, it must be said, the magnets. It's a lot easier to get into. So I'm just looking down the coach here, and I think I'm going to have to off camera just see what I can do to get the roof of the coach off. It's a little bit bothersome at first. You feel like you're at risk of breaking something, but actually they're not clipped on too tight. It's just once you work out how everything is put together, it's quite easy. So you can see there we've got these clips just down the side. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 per side. Now we've also got the light bar inside, and you can see the surface mount LEDs just along there. With the capacitor at the end, that just gives the flicker-free action on these. And then there's just 2 mounting points at the end. There's quite a bit of overspray or something from the brown paint, but in all honesty, I wouldn't worry, you're never really going to see that. Now, it does warn you about feeding the carpet monster with these springs. There are a couple of springs here, and they are loose fitted, so they're made of brass. You won't be able to go and get these with a magnet. So just be a little bit careful once the roof is off, because if you lose these, you will lose the coach lighting. The interior of these coaches is quite exquisite. I particularly like the guards compartment, and you can see we've got this full interior with the brake valves, even with needles and such like. It really is quite nicely done. We've got the handbrake standard, and then we've also got, it's like a pigeonhole box mounted on the bulkhead there, with a desk underneath. There's a seat on the other side. It just shows that there's quite a lot going on in here, and certainly room for a nice cameo with the guard. We've even got a planked floor, and I do like the choice of this brown colour for the interior. It does seem to work quite well. Looking further along, these luggage racks appear to be etched brass, and they are really quite nice. We've got some degree of, you just look underneath, there are where I'm guessing, yes, you can just about see there's different ones to each compartment. There is an element of pictures. It's difficult to see what the pictures are. They are fairly basic. And then the centre one, I'm guessing, may have been a mirror, or if there had been a route map, then of course during the wartime to fox the enemy if they invaded, and these would probably have been removed from the coaches. The seats themselves, really quite nice. We've got a different colour there for first class, and whilst from the outside it's perhaps not as obvious, from the inside you can see the extra legroom that would have been afforded to first class. Now the glazing is quite chunky on the inside, but in all honesty you're not really going to see that except with the roof off, so I'm not too bothered by that. There's plenty of scope for customizing. When it comes to changing the windows, I'll just leave a fingernail in there, and these are actually quite easy to pull out. You can see they're held on with the smallest of dabs of glue either side, so really quite easy to replace these with the extras that they give. And what it says to add in with a little bit of PVA, they do seem to be a little bit of a push fit, so I'm just pushing that window back in. I wouldn't say it particularly needs glue. They actually seem to push in quite readily and stay put without falling out. When it comes time to put the roof back on, just make sure you've got it the right way round. There's this kind of almost a hidden compartment at the end. That's where the capacitor goes and those pickups, and just going to line it up and then push fit it in. I do, as I said before, I much prefer magnetic mounting of roofs where removable roofs are provided. Rapido did that for their really quite nice towed brake fan, but we've got these clips on this. They do go together, but it's just be a little bit careful when getting the roof off. Today's video is sponsored by TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for finding all of the models featured today at the best possible price at the link in the description. TMC also offers custom weathering and renumbering to any model, be it brand new or pre-owned. Check out their full pre-owned listings too, where you can be assured of quality as every item is screened and graded by professional staff. TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for all aspects of modelling. When it comes to running, the models do perform really well. On Weiryard, I had them rattling around with no issues whatsoever. On the main track, they really do follow the locomotive pretty well. And I do like that solid coupling bar between them. It does give you an added sense of reliability as well as that close coupling. And that is something which works really well. It handled all of the different point work and the uneven track without any issues whatsoever, and the capacitor system within the coaches stopped any kind of a flickering from those lights. One thing I do like about this is it's not an excessive capacitance. What do I mean by that? Well, I have seen on some of the more recent coaching stock coming through from manufacturers a stay alive system that powers the lighting for quite some time after it's removed from the track. This may seem like a great idea until you remember when you turn your layout on, the current inrush to charge all that up can sometimes cause a tripping out of your DCC system, and you don't get that problem with these. There's just enough capacitance to do the job in hand without causing too much of an inrush current. So all in all, the running qualities are pretty good. There's no signs of derailment and they are really free running. So we turn now to the scores, and first up is build quality. This is really good, as you might have come to expect from Rapido. The models are really well put together with all of the detail present, and it managed to cope with all of the handling throughout the review, with none of the parts making a bid for freedom. There really wasn't anything I could point to that there was a problem with, so it gets the full 10 out of 10. Next up is running quality, and again, they performed really well on the track throughout all of the twists and turns and point work that I have to offer here on Weiryard. They got through double slips, they got through scissor crossings, and a lot more besides, and there was no hint of risk of derailment, and they were incredibly free running as well. So much so that really you could probably add quite a few more sets of these before even the smallest of tank locomotives begin to struggle. Again, with nothing to point to and find fault with, I'm going to give it the full 10 out of 10. On DCC fitting and innovation, well, DCC fitting, thankfully, is not necessary for these coaches. We very quickly moved on from requiring function decoders in items of rolling stock, and I think that this is a good development because it means no additional cost to get those lights working. Getting into the coaches was just a little bit less straightforward than we've had from some of the other Rapido items of rolling stock, in particular thinking of those absolutely superb towed brake vans where the roofs are held on by strong magnets, and the clips on these do feel a little bit like there is a risk of damage if you need to get in and out more than a couple of times, though that said, for most people you'd never need to go inside at all. I really do like the addition of those dropped drop lights for the end user to fit. The stay alive for the lighting is also exactly what you need for the job. It's not excessive, so you don't get current inrush problems when you first turn on your layout. And all in all, I'm going to give this a 9.0. On accuracy and quality of finish, well, the accuracy does seem to be pretty good. There's an awful lot of aspects of these coaches that are actually quite distinctive when you delve down into it, and these have been captured really well by Rapido. The area which didn't seem quite what I thought it could be was that the coach roofs, the ends and the sides do seem to have a slightly excessively glossy finish, and in particular those roofs and the ends of the coaches felt like they needed toning down, and it just looked a little bit on the plasticky side. If you've got any kind of bright lights, particularly LED lights in your railway room, then there is a very noticeable shine off the roofs, and I felt that this is an area that perhaps Rapido had dropped the ball ever so slightly, so I'm going to give it an 8.7. On value for money, we've got an RRP of £169.95, but if you follow the affiliate link down below, you'll find all the different versions that are available for around the £144 price point. There are quite a number of different versions being made in 00 gauge, and this includes GWR shirt button livery as Bodmin branch number 2, Interwar GWR livery, BR Crimson, Bristol division as number 49 and BR Crimson, a number of versions in BR Maroon, a number of versions as well in GWR Wartime Brown livery, and then there's also Kingham branch GWR post-war lined livery and the BR Western region chocolate and cream livery suitable for the late 1940s. Compared to some of the other offerings that are coming through from other manufacturers, I did feel that that was just a little bit on the expensive side for what you got, but it is nonetheless a really great set that will find a great home in a lot of people's model railway collections, so I'm going to give it a 7.8. And that gives us a total score of 45.5, which is a respectable score for what is a very well realised set of coaches from Rapido, and it really does make me look forward to what we can expect from the forthcoming Evolution coaches, which I think are going to be the standout releases from Rapido this year. All in all, it's going to be a great release that will be a welcome delivery to those GWR modelers that want something to run on their smaller branch line services, where these very much were the sights and sounds of the GWR backwaters. I hope you really enjoyed today's review and found it informative, and certainly for me these workaday coaches are the perfect addition to any branch line layout. With their semi-permanently coupled together fixed formation of the two coaches, it's a great opportunity for those space-starved modelers, as well as the hardcore GWR and Western region ones too. These were a pivotal part of the railway scene, and for those without enough room to run the big 10 and 11 coach trains, these are the perfect offering to stay prototypical but make the most of the space that you have available. For me, the only gripes that I really had were the shininess of the finish on these coaches. I don't know whether this extends to some of the other livery options, but I did feel that they would benefit from a small amount of toning down just to mat out some of that shine that I was getting from the roof and from the curved ends of the coaches. I think as well a little smattering of underframe dirt would really bring out a lot of the detail on the bogies and the underframe. And for me too, just blackening up the wheel faces would just go a little way to improve what actually is already a pretty good offering from Rapido. We've got an affiliate link down below in the description box to take you to TMC the Model Centre for all the different versions of these coaches, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below to find out exactly what you think about them. Are these a coach set that will be appearing on your layout? Is there a particular livery that you're particularly looking forward to? Or indeed, have you already got some of these? And I want to know from you what your real world experiences are. Share those experiences with your fellow modeler in the comments section down below. It's a great way of passing on information that you think may have been missed in this video. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Please like, share and subscribe. Check us out over at Patreon and keep buying those Monday Club badges for the unique and exclusive discounts that they get you, but also just to look amazing and show off your love of the channel. Until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying take great care. Bye for now and happy modelling. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest logo.
Today's video is sponsored by TMC the Model Centre, your first choice for finding all of the models featured today at the best possible price at the link in the description. TMC also offers custom weathering and renumbering to any model, be it brand new or pre-owned. Check out their full pre-owned listings too, where you can be assured of quality as every item is screened and graded by professional staff. TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for all aspects of modelling. I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/JenniferKirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.